Welcome, everyone. Great to see you all here. All right, can go to the next slide. Wonderful. So today you're going to be hearing from Erin Quinn, Dimagi's Senior Director of Customer Success, who is zooming in from DC, and Arti Sahu, Dimagi's Senior Manager of Customer Success, joining us from Delhi, India. And I'm Amy Vaccaro, and I will be hosting you for the hour. So welcome, everyone. So let's take a quick look at today's agenda. We are going to begin with some context about the current challenges in global health and development, gathering your insights through a few quick polls as well. Next, we'll give you a brief introduction to the newly affordable CommCare Standard Plan, followed by demos of some of the most powerful and important capabilities for your programs. These demos will be rooted in workflows for maternal and child health and emergency and humanitarian response, and they'll be demos that are useful across sectors. We'll conclude with a good chunk of time for Q&A. So as you have questions as we're speaking, feel free to drop your questions into the Q&A feature in Zoom. We'll address them both throughout the webinar and then at the end as well. And by way of introduction, if you aren't familiar with us, Dimagi is a global technology social enterprise working towards a vision of a world where everyone has access to the services they need to thrive. Since 2002, we've built and scaled sustainable, high-impact digital solutions that amplify frontline work. We are most well known as the makers of CommCare, a digital platform that lets organizations like yours quickly and securely build custom applications for frontline data collection and program delivery. We're proud to say there are CommCare users in over 130 countries, and over 1 million frontline workers and users around the world have used apps built on CommCare to date. So before we dive in too deeply, I want to get a sense for who is joining us today and where folks are coming from. Take a moment to respond to the polls we've just posted. I'm curious to hear folks' level of understanding of CommCare and also what sectors folks are working in. So I'll give folks maybe 30 seconds to respond to the poll. All right, that's probably good. If you want to close out the poll, Michael, we can take a look. All right, so it looks like we've got the majority of folks are using CommCare today. Handful of folks are not using CommCare. And similarly, a majority of folks have used CommCare in the past. In terms of sectors, we've got a good spread. It looks like ag, humanitarian are some of the bigger ones, but really a wide range of folks coming in from different sectors. So thank you so much for sharing that. All right. So let's face it, it's been a devastating year for global health and development. We've seen staggering cuts to USAID. We're also seeing cuts to aid budgets in the UK and across Europe. And the human toll of these cuts is still to be seen, but there are a few new studies out that are predicting unthinkable outcomes. 500,000 preventable child deaths from HIV-related causes, 25 million deaths over the next 15 years. Personally, it's really hard to even wrap my mind around this without feeling overwhelmed and sad. And I know each of you on this call are living this day in and day out. And all of this has a huge impact on organizations that are struggling to continue to serve communities. When budgets tighten, organizations can be forced to let go of digital systems, but at what cost? When digital systems disappear, we lose years of institutional knowledge and essential infrastructure that powers life-saving work. Today's cuts force an impossible choice: survive now or build digital resilience for tomorrow. But the reality is, you need both to thrive in the future. No organization should have to abandon their digital strategy just to make it through a difficult year. And this is precisely why we've made the bold decision to make CommCare more affordable. So with that, I want to bring Erin Quinn up for a bit to hear from you, Erin, as head of our customer success team and someone who works closely with leading organizations across sectors on their digitization efforts. What are you seeing and hearing?
Yeah, thanks, Amy. As you can imagine, this has just been a really seismic shift in the sector for everyone. And I would say the vast majority of partners that we work with are funded, at least in part by USAID, or were funded, at least in part by USAID. So they all really have been affected by this in some way or another. And I think our greatest fear when we heard about this news was that all of a sudden, all the progress that we had seen organizations make over the years, I'm sure there are a lot of folks on the phone here who have fought and fought and fought for budget to be included in these large projects for digital data collection. And we were really worried that all of that was just kind of going to disappear overnight. The great thing that we did find was actually that organizations were not going back. We found that we really proved that you could not do data collection without doing digital as well. And so that was really heartening to see. We were really glad to see that organizations were not reverting to the old style of just paper-based, paper and pencil and a little clipboard in the field. They weren't lugging their laptops around and trying to collect data on Excel or anything like that. And in fact, one of probably the most heartening things that we did hear was from some of our partners who have been using CommCare for years and years. And they told us that, in the midst of these cuts, when they were trying to speak with USAID and fight to keep their funding with USAID or, go quickly find alternative funding, they told us that the ability to be able to pull down their data quickly from CommCare and say, if you cut this funding, this is the direct impact that's going to happen. As of tomorrow, 5,000 women will not have antenatal care, or 20,000 farmers will not have access to critical training on climate safe practices. That sort of data and being able to tell that story so quickly and so easily was incredibly impactful. And that put them in a stronger position to be able to retain their funding with USAID or to go and seek funding with new funders and new sources.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm curious, how are you seeing organizations cope with these cuts?
Yeah, they have been really tough. There's no way around that. I do think that we have seen organizations have had to do some really tough things. I think most organizations that we work with have had to make pretty big cuts to their staff. So most of the teams that we work with look smaller now. So they're definitely operating with a lot of reduced staff capacity, especially on monitoring and evaluation teams, meal teams, ICT for D teams. We've seen a lot of cuts there. Um, Interestingly, at the same time, we're seeing either consistent demand for digital tools or at some points, like actually increasing demand for digital tools because of this idea that, okay, it really is super important that we be able to report out on what we're doing, that we be able to have instant access to all this information about what's going on. And so I think there's this really interesting paradigm now where the team that you had before was already pretty strapped. Those teams were already super busy doing a lot of work. Now those teams are smaller and they've got more work. And so what they've been saying to us is now they have an even greater need for upskilling new staff members. And a lot of times those staff members are not actually on their teams. So if you work on an M&E team or a meal team or ICT for D team, measurement, whatever that team is called at your organization, now what we're seeing is interacting with and building on digital tools, it might not be something that just that team does. You might have to go train people who work on the programs team or work in country offices, or you might be training people that normally wouldn't be working with a digital tool. And all of that burden is kind of going on to the original folks that do know how to use these digital tools. And so there's just an increased need for these easy to use, flexible tools that people can really easily learn how to use.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's definitely a role that we're, as Dimagi, eager to support in that upskilling and also make sure that CommCare can be that central, flexible, easy to use tool across teams. Um,
Certainly.
with that, we want to do another poll. This next poll is really looking at how have recent changes and devastating cuts been impacting your organization? And beyond your organization, how have they affected your digitization efforts? So curious to hear from folks, kind of the scale of impact here. We'll give it about 30 seconds for folks to respond. Closing out that poll. We'll take a look at responses. Yeah. Okay. So it looks like about 58% of folks Their organizations have been significantly impacted, maybe a quarter slightly impacted, and a handful not impacted. Um, Interesting. Okay, in terms of your digitization efforts, it looks like the majority of folks, your organization is increasing your digitization efforts. A handful of folks are having to slow down or scale back. A couple of folks with no impact. So thank you so much for sharing that. That's really useful information. Um, with that, we can go to the next slide. So we understand the pressure organizations are facing today, and that's why we're taking action. So as of last month, we're cutting the cost of our CommCare Standard Plan by 60%. So down from $250 per month to just $100 per month paid annually. This is the same powerful platform that's been made dramatically more affordable because digital resilience shouldn't be a luxury in challenging times. And I want to be clear about what makes this so significant. This standard plan isn't a stripped down version with super limited capabilities. At just $100 a month, it delivers remarkable power. So this really isn't about compromising on capabilities. It's about ensuring organizations of all sizes can build sophisticated digital systems, even with constrained budgets. So for the next bit on this webinar, we want to share with you just how powerful the standard plan is. We're going to share deep dives on three key capabilities. So the first is better data collection with built-in service delivery benefits. So our no-code application builder allows anyone to quickly build mobile, web, and messaging apps that not only collect critical data, but also guide frontline workers through best practices and protocols. Second, we'll take you through powerful case management for end-to-end client support. The system provides decision support and rich engagement for any setting, even offline. And third, having a secure foundation for programs to meet today's evolving pressures and needs. We've built everything on an open source, professionally managed foundation with dedicated technical support and top tier security that meets the most rigorous standards, including GDPR and SOC 2 compliance. So, with that, we'll be diving into detailed demos of each of these capabilities. And I'm going to hand you back over to Erin Quinn to start with better data collection. Over to you, Erin.
Thanks, Amy. And as Amy said, the first thing we're going to talk about is how CommCare can help you collect better data. I'm sure that a lot of you guys who are sitting here right now might be on monitoring and evaluation or ICT for D teams. And probably one of the main things that you think about is data quality. You're probably in charge of a lot of data and making sure that the data that you report out on is accurate, clean, and up to date. And CommCare is great at doing that. I saw a lot of you guys already use CommCare. Hopefully, I don't have to tell you that. Hopefully, you've already seen the power of CommCare in doing that. But in addition to that, it also has a lot of features that can help you improve the life of your users and improve the services that your users are delivering to clients along the way. And so we want to try to highlight a couple of those things that you can do with the CommCare Standard Plan specifically and all of our other plans. So for those of you who are in M&E or data manager type roles, I'm sure that data cleaning is a big part of your job. And while of course there are a lot of ways to clean data on CommCare, the best practice is of course to have users enter clean data from the start. In CommCare, you can use validation conditions to restrict the sort of answers that your users are able to enter. So the two examples that you're seeing looping right here on the screen are on questions about date of birth and phone number. So when you're collecting information on something like date of birth, we of course know that there are going to be all sorts of different ages and dates of birth. But the one thing that we know is true about all dates of birth is that they should not be in the future. And so that is the one constraint that we've added here. And you can see that if you put in a date of birth in the future, you're going to get an error message and it's not going to go away and let you proceed until you fix that. Similarly, with phone numbers are very long. It's very easy to either omit a number or to accidentally add an extra number. And so you can restrict the answers for this based on string length, so the number of digits that you enter in here. And similarly, if something is too long or too short, you can give an error message and not let your user proceed unless they've given the right number of digits. And both of those are just ways that you can ensure that your users are entering clean data from the very start and that they're not needing to actually do any data cleaning on the back end. One of the other things we want to do is make sure that our applications are helping our users as much as possible. CommCare can be used as a powerful job aid that helps reduce the mental burden of your users with features like auto calculations. This is an example from an emergency response cash and voucher assistance application. And what the application actually does is it looks at the composition of a household. So it looks at how many people are in it, and it determines a cash and voucher award based on who is in that family and its characteristics. So specifically, I think for this algorithm, it gives more cash to any families that have pregnant or lactating women, children under 5, or anyone in the family that has a disability. This is a lot of math for anyone to do, let alone a frontline worker who might be doing this in a crowded facility for 40 or 50 families a day, all of whom are in the middle of experiencing a really bad crisis and have, households just clamoring to talk to them. And so what we're able to do is build this entire algorithm out on CommCare in the back end so that none of these calculations have to be done by the user and CommCare can do them all on their own. This reduces any errors that the frontline worker would make from having to do this math manually, and it makes their life easier and their work faster. You can see here at the end, you're getting that 846 Quetzal. That's the number for that cash and voucher distribution. So that's exactly what the user is shown. It's a value add not only for the user, but also for the data quality, since we know that far fewer mistakes will be made this way. And lastly, you can use skip logic, label messages, and creative formatting to give your users helpful information and guide them to the right decision. So following on the exact same emergency response application that we saw from the last slide, this is a continuation of the same survey. So again, we're actually assessing households right after they have experienced a crisis, and we ask them all sorts of questions about their current situation. Things like, do they have adequate shelter? Do they have access to food and clean water? Do they have any health or medical needs? Do they have any protection needs? It's just a really, really long survey with a lot of questions, particularly as you start to answer yes to any of them and you start to need to take notes or be sent for referrals for anything. And so this would really be a lot of information for that user to have to remember all throughout the survey. What we're able to do at the very end of this is offer the frontline worker a summary. And this summary will tell the frontline worker exactly where to guide the particular person and what services they're going to be eligible for at the end of it. You can see here after the health and protection questions finish, that will hop onto the summary screen. And you can see it not only gives the cash amount here, it shows that they're eligible for shelter assistance, food assistance, and then it tells them exactly where to go. So this is actually summarizing every single finding from this form, and it's giving some helpful information to the user. So it's telling the site worker that they can actually proceed to distribute cash and give that out to the person right there, and then that they're going to need to guide the person to the shelter distribution desk and the food and water distribution desk as well. This sort of guidance is what helps make your user's life easier and can help deliver better services to your clients. There's so much more that you can do than even what I've just shown you here, but that's just a small taste of it. But now what I want to do is hand it over to Arti, who's going to give you some more examples of the really powerful things you can do using our case management capabilities.
Thank you, Erin. So with CommCare's new and more affordable standard plan, you're not just getting better data collection and built-in service delivery. As Erin explained, you're also going to get all the essential tools for case management, which lets you track people, places, or even things over time. So if you register a person, like a patient or a pregnant woman, and save their details in the app, CommCare will allow you to follow up with them over multiple visits, record their progress, and even respond to urgent needs when they come up. And once the support or treatment is complete, you can simply close the case. And don't worry about the internet access because case management works offline. so you can keep using the app wherever you are. Let's take an example and look at how case management helps deliver better and more informed care to clients. In this example on the screen, you can see there's an application called CommCare, which means care for mother. A pregnant woman was registered a few days ago by a frontline worker. Now it's time for a follow-up visit to be done. So when the worker opens the case list, they can immediately see all the mothers who were previously registered. So we can see all the list on the screen. And unlike systems without case management, there is no need for the data collector to re-register the same person at every visit, because CommCare, through case management, automatically retains the client's information, making it easy to pick up wherever they left off. And this helps the frontline worker know exactly what's needed today. So on the screen, you can see we are looking at the profile of Mother Pushpa, who was seen and registered during an earlier visit. And when we go ahead and open the follow-up form, you can actually see some more in-depth summary of her last visit, what services were provided, any reported symptoms, and what needs attention today. So this makes it easier for the worker to provide personalized, timely care without missing anything important. So in the last slide, we saw how case management helps frontline workers provide better, more personalized care by remembering past visits and highlighting what needs to be done today. Now let's look at how it also helps them, meaning the user, the frontline worker, stay organized and manage their workload, all from within the same application. So when a frontline worker opens their case list, as you can see on the screen, they immediately see all the women they are following up with. And by default, this list has been sorted by how soon a follow-up is due. So the most urgent cases appear at the top. You'll notice Mother Suman, Pooja, Rekha, all are overdue by a couple of days and clearly flagged so that they don't get missed. But this case list is just not a static list. It's an interactive and customizable list. So if we go and click on the top three buttons that we see on the screen, you can actually sort the list by high risk status or by EDD. So if you go and click the list, you will be able to see that all the mothers who are under their high risk status will be shown on the top. And if you sort the list by EDD, then you can see all the mothers who are planned for visitations, they will appear on the top. So for example, if we chose high risk, you can see all the mothers with the red flag on the top, meaning that they have to be followed up quickly. But if we go and check on EDD, then we'll see all the mothers who are nearing the delivery. So this makes it easy for frontline workers first to scan their list, then search for any key cases that needs attention, and then quickly prioritize visits so that they can focus their time when it's needed most without the hassle of tracking everything manually. So in the last two screens, we saw how a frontline worker uses the mobile app. Yes. So in the last two slides, we saw how a frontline worker uses the mobile app to manage clients and plan their day work. But let's switch gears and look at the backend, where data managers and M&E teams can easily access and analyze all the information collected in the field. We started with the app builder, and now we'll move to the data export section, which is under the CommCare HQ. And at data export section, that's the place where we can configure and download the data that was collected in the application. So you can see we are exporting the data into Excel. And once we have got the data in Excel, you will notice that CommCare has pulled everything together in one row for each client. And especially the one highlighted in yellow color, we are looking into the information collected for Mother Pushpa that we registered and followed up. From her registration and follow-up visits to danger sign assessments, to referrals, delivery outcomes, even to case closure, everything is in just one row. Each column at the top that you see represents a different data point that has been drawn from multiple forms in the app. So instead of searching through separate files, you as an M&E person, you can get a complete picture of the entire care of all the pregnant mothers, their journey, all in one place. And this makes it incredibly easy to review individual cases, compare clients, and even analyze trends across your program with just a few clicks. So now that we have seen the value of case management both in the field and in the backend, let's turn it over to Erin to explore what the standard plan offers for program management and administration on CommCare HQ. So over to you, Erin.
Thanks, Arthi. Now that we've seen a lot of the power that CommCare has, particularly on the mobile side, when it comes to helping collect better data while delivering better services and enabling case management. In the last example that Arthi started to show a little bit of what the CommCare HQ backend looks like. And this serves as a secure foundation for programs to meet today's evolving security needs. From safe, secure data storage to customized user provisioning to ease of supervising your workforce. CommCare offers secure, flexible data storage and exporting capabilities, empowering organizations to manage and leverage their data with confidence. With full compliance with the strictest data security protocol, including SOC 2 and GDPR, all sensitive data is encrypted both in transit and at rest, which ensures that maximum data security and privacy. Data exporting in CommCare is seamless, enabling you to extract form and case data in various formats like CSV and Excel on the standard plan. And you can easily take those exports into Excel or other BI tools like Power BI and Tableau for analysis. Whether you're tracking progress, analyzing trends, or sharing insights with stakeholders, CommCare ensures that your data is accessible, accurate, and secure, empowering your team to make data-driven decisions while maintaining the highest standards of compliance. We know that teams deploying mobile tools on the ground are made up of lots of different team members with lots of different roles that they play. Some field supervisors and program managers overseeing day-to-day operations, some data and M&E experts, a lot of whom I bet are here today, and other IT and application building whizzes, a lot of whom Arthi and I have the pleasure of training. But with CommCare's roles-based permissioning, you can ensure secure access and streamline workflows for every single user to fit their specific role. This ensures that every user has access only to the parts of the platform that they truly need, nothing more and nothing less. For instance, here in this video, you can see that we are creating a custom web user role that has access to reports and can also edit web users, mobile users, and groups. This sort of role would be great for a field-based supervisor who needs to manage users and know what they're doing, but who we don't want to have access to the application or data. This approach not only enhances security, but also simplifies the user experience for all of our users, since they only need to learn the parts of the platform relevant for their role. And again, this is especially important as we know that upskilling our users is a huge challenge in this time of reduced staff capacity. There's an old saying, if you build it, they will come, which basically has come to mean if you build something that's really great, people will start using it. But alas, your program cannot rely on old sayings. You need data to back that up. And so that's why we have made a set of pre-configured worker activity reports to see if your users are using those beautiful apps that you have built for them. CommCare's worker activity reports provide valuable insights into the performance and engagement of field workers in real time. By tracking key metrics like task completion, case updates, and field visits, these reports enable program managers to monitor progress, identify potential bottlenecks, and ensure that services are being delivered effectively. This visibility is crucial for making data-driven decisions and improving operational efficiency, all while ensuring accountability within the team. It's a great way for you to be able to spot problems early and make sure that you can address them with your team. Whether you're managing a small team or scaling operations across regions, worker activity reports can help optimize performance and keep your program on track.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Erin and Arti. That was a really helpful walkthrough of everything that's possible, or at least some of the things that are possible with our standard plan. So we saw better data collection, powerful case management, and access to a secure, robust foundation to manage data for your programs. All of this makes me wonder, will the standard plan work for everyone? And when should folks on this webinar consider a more advanced plan?
That's a great question. It will work for a lot of you and not all of you. So the standard plan is a great plan to start with. It's a great entry point. Um, if you have not used CommCare before, it's a phenomenal place to start. If you are just starting to dip your toes into the pool of digital data collection, it's a great place to start. If you have a rather simple workflow, it's a great place to start. There is really, I think you said it earlier in the webinar, Amy. This is not like a stripped down light version of this. You really get a whole lot of the power of CommCare in this entry level plan. So, the full set of case management features comes along with it. So you really do still get a ton of the power with it. That being said, there are features that are not in the standard plan that are in some of our more advanced plans like Pro, Advanced, and Enterprise. So things like case sharing. If you have groups of users who are looking after groups of cases and need to share those cases, that's something that you would need to be on a more advanced plan for. If you wanted to use some of our more custom features like Save to Case, where you're doing some more advanced case management things, that's something where you need to be on a more advanced plan. If you wanted to enable not only case sharing, but more hierarchical based structures, you would want to use our organizations feature, and that is on our advanced plan. So I think standard is a great option for a lot of people. It won't work today for everyone, it'll work for a lot of folks. And then I think also once you're on the standard plan for a while, you might find that you outgrow it, and that's okay too. You might find that it works great for you, and then you want to keep doing more and more and more, and that's fine too. You might want to start using OData feeds and integrating with Power BI and Tableau. That's going to need a bigger plan. So, it's a great place to start, and I think you can always move on from there once you start to really see the value of what CommCare can provide for you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Erin. So we're going to move into Q&A. So feel free for folks to add questions. And before we just dive into the Q&A, I do want to take a moment for folks to respond to a quick poll from Michael. So this is a poll that basically is asking if you want us to follow up with you to learn more about any of those more advanced plans, and we'd be happy to follow up with you. So feel free to just fill out this poll, yes or no, and we'll have someone follow up with you. All right. So yeah, we'll move into Q&A now. So folks, add your questions into the Q&A. I will kick it off with a couple that I've seen come direct to me over the Zoom. So one is, how does this pricing compare to alternatives? So other tools that are out there on the market.
Yeah, I think every tool kind of has their own drivers of cost and pricing models. So some other tools look at how many forms you're submitting or how many apps you have or how much data storage you have. So there's a little bit of a caveat that not all tools charge for the same things. But I think the standard plan is pretty competitive with, I would say, every other tool out there in terms of price. What I would say is that you're getting a much more powerful tool and a much more secure tool than anything else at that same price point. If you look at other tools, like I know Kobo is one that a lot of folks use that's at that really similar price point. It certainly doesn't have the data security, doesn't have case management at the same level. So we really think that this is probably the premier offering at that price point. And obviously we're biased, we make it, but we really were trying to make something that was really premier at a low price point because we want to make sure, especially in this moment, that everyone has access to great tools that protect their clients' data security.
Absolutely. Erin or RT, what prompted us to make this change to our pricing and to our offering, and what feedback were we hearing from folks that contributed to this decision?
We can't afford it. No, I'm just kidding. I think the most compelling things we would hear were from local organizations. So, when you hear the term NGO, there's like such a gamut of those. Like some NGOs have operating budgets of hundreds of millions of dollars, right? And so, uh, of course, they're also working under constraints. Everyone has a budget. Even Bill Gates has a budget. It's just a huge budget. But some of the large NGOs have a lot of money that they can pay larger prices for, and they can find that money. But then there are NGOs where it's just like a mom and pop shop kind of down the street, and it's maybe two or three people working full time and a bunch of volunteers, and they're doing really phenomenal work. And they really want to use something like a digital tool, and they were feeling priced out of the market. And those were exactly the sorts of people that we wanted to enable to use tools like this. And so we kind of always wanted to be able to support folks like that. And then I think the straw that broke the camel's back was sector shift with the USAID cuts, was feeling like we wanted to make it easy enough for everyone to retain and keep using digital in this moment where we knew that everyone was going to be reevaluating budgets and everything was going to be up for debate about, do we keep this, do we not? Every little line item was going to be on there. We feel really strongly that digital data collection is the way to go. And we think a lot of organizations agree with that. We think the sector agrees with that. And we also feel really, really strongly that if you're going to do digital data collection, you owe it to the clients you're serving to do it in a secure way. And so the data security is really, really
100%.
key for us. And so we wanted to give an offering that was inexpensive and powerful and could really meaningfully secure client data.
And I would just kind of add, speaking from India, I have personally met a lot of organizations here who kind of always brought up this point that if there could be something little less than $50, which could easily help them support the program that they have been doing. So I think this is definitely going to solve that worry that was within them, where they can just go grab this subscription for $100 and then literally have almost all the features that were there in the earlier standard plan and make use of it and then move to the other plan if the need arises. So catering to the Indian market, especially, this is going to be very, very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you for that. And I think we've long heard that folks find CommCare to be expensive, and just so proud that we've been able to make this bold decision to really drop the price on a really powerful plan. I'm curious, we talked a little bit about it on the last slide, but what are some of the limits to the standard plan, and what is like the biggest reason that somebody might upgrade from the standard plan to a plan above that?
We had a conversation with our partners at Mercy Corps, who's actually an enterprise partner, but they've been really engaging with us a lot, talking, advocating on behalf of their local partners for affordable plans, which actually a lot of our enterprise partners have. So if you work with any of our 19 enterprise partners, don't worry, they're advocating on your behalf too. And the two features that they really talked about that are a lot of value are case sharing and OData feeds. So case sharing is when you have a group of users overseeing a group of cases. So it could be something maybe like a clinical workflow where you have a group of nurses and doctors that are working together, all overseeing a pool of patients that come to one clinic. So it's something where any patient that comes in can be seen by any one of them. And when they come for follow-up, similarly, like any of the clinic staff need to be able to see and take action on that case. In a humanitarian setting, it might be something like you're working at a refugee camp. And similarly, like any of the people that work at that refugee camp need to be able to work with any of the people that are staying at that refugee camp that are coming in for services. So that's case sharing. And then OData feeds is in the way that you saw in Arthi's video, the way that you configure a data export. You can create, using the exact same UI, an OData feed that you can link up to Power BI or Tableau in order to create dashboards in those BI tools that automatically refresh every time you go into them. And so for Mercy Corps in particular, and a lot of organizations that have really developed a dedicated tech stack where they say CommCare is our tool of choice for digital data collection and Power BI is our tool of choice for data analysis. And they kind of have this set of maybe 4 or 5 tools that work together as a part of a dedicated tech stack. They say, like, we love CommCare, but for us, CommCare is a piece of the pie. And so, Power BI is another really important piece of that pie. And so for them, of course, you can take a CSV file and pop it into Power BI, but they said we would really like those OData feeds too. So those were 2 that they had specifically called out to us.
Got it. Yeah. So it sounds like the ability to share cases amongst workers, the integration with data visualization tools, those are some of the key factors that will nudge someone to upgrade. Feel free to drop your questions in. But yes, we will absolutely be sharing the recording after this webinar. And I did notice that someone had their hand up. Colinette, if you wanted to either voice your question or pop it into the Q&A, and while you're adding your question, I can keep asking questions. Oh, yes, is that
Yeah.
Colinette? Hi.
Yes, hi. I'm there. I was
Hi.
trying to ask a question. I'm from the DRC, and I found this application, I really appreciate this application, like a digital tools for our work. I think that it will be helping us a lot in what we are expecting to do. But my question is, would you organize like another webinar to teach people how to use it very well? Like this was so quick. And I was like trying to myself go there to go into there to watch some movies on YouTube, and then I found it suitable for me, and I want to go deeper.
You're talking to the exact right team. It is actually our team, Arthi and I and our colleague Eric. We are the three that work on the customer success team, and we are also the ones who run onboardings and are responsible for the Dimagi Academy and a lot of our online learning resources. So there are lots of great learning tools out there. I think Dimagi Academy is the place that I would recommend you start. We have some online learning courses that you can take. They're self-paced, they're free. You can sign up for them today if you want, and they are a great introduction to learning about CommCare and how to use it. We also have a very comprehensive help site that I like to say is smarter than any one person at Dimagi because it's a kind of a decades-long collection of all of our brains. And so those two resources together are probably some of the best places to start if you want to look at really learning how to use CommCare.
Yeah, that's good. Mhm.
And Amy, I think will we send out links to those with the webinar recording?
Yeah, good. Copy that.
Yes. Yes, we will definitely send out links to those. But such a great question, Kana. Thank you so much for voicing that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Hi,
Hi.
this is Hendrix Siamwane from Zambia, and in our organization we've been using CommCare for some time now, and it's been very helpful in terms of integrating data, integrated into Excel with some data feeding direct into Power BI. I think it's been making my life easy, and sometimes I look intelligent because of CommCare. Yeah, but my question is on, there are some few instances that I've encountered where I have, for example, this survey, which there's a question on the survey which is multiple choice, or and then sometimes you find what was selected when I export this data, it will bring a different option which wasn't part of that particular question. So I was just wondering if there's anything that is being done to just optimize on the back end, or there are some kind of updates that are being done. I think I just noticed this a few weeks ago. I think in the last 2 months, but in previous years, I haven't had any issues with it. So I don't know if there's something that is being done about it.
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's a few things that might be going on. Sometimes this is what has probably happened to me the most when I've seen an issue like this. Sometimes if you have form submissions related to like an older version of the app, that might be why you're seeing different choice values in the data than what you're expecting. And if that's the case, you can go in and you can use like the Excel case importer or one of the data cleaning tools to clean that data. So that's certainly one option. And you can check that the link to the form itself, you can check the application version that it was submitted with to see if it was submitted with an old app version. And actually, that's one of the reasons that it's like super important that when you guys release new app versions, that everyone, all your users actually update to it, because I think I've seen some really tough data cleaning tasks that have been created because people's users have not updated their apps. So that's one potential cause of it. The other thing, there's a small chance it could be a real bug. If you look at it and the app version is correct and you still can't figure it out, you can always feel free to email our support team and report it, and they can help you look into this as well. There are lots of ways that you can clean the data, so that's certainly, there are lots of ways to fix it, but I think you definitely want to find the root cause of it to make sure that it doesn't, recur again, and that you kind of try to fix it at the source as well as fixing the data that is incorrect as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think what I've done with the entire team and the applications that we've created is to put the force update setting when we have an update that has happened. We've definitely forced the team to update to the latest version. I think on that part, I've locked it in that way. But I think this must be some kind of a bug, because sometimes when I look at, I want to audit this form, I've done some bit of auditing of these forms, like get to understand what really the challenge is. You find that the result that I have gotten, when I hover it will show me, it will give me what came, and then it will give me what was supposed to be there, like when I hover my mouse pointer. So those are some of the issues that I've just encountered. Like I've said, it's something that I've just encountered a few months, I think 2 months previously. So I thought maybe some things that are happening in the background and the lights, but this hasn't been an issue from the years that I've used CommCare to work on data. It's super helpful tool, and you're doing a great job, you guys. I think, yeah, that's what I can say.
Thank you. Thank you, Hendrix. RT, I wonder if maybe do you want to share your screen? You can even just show how within CommCare you can navigate to, if it is truly a bug, like it's a great thing, just report to support. And you can also just see how to get access to our support team through CommCare.
Yeah. So I just shared my screen, and to your question, the best way to find out where the error would be happening is what I suggest a lot of my onboardees is to always try making a new version of the application. So it actually gives you the exact place where the error would be happening. So you basically go to your app settings over here, and then you click on making a new version. If there's any error, you will see the description about it. So let's say if you really go into the error and you're not able to find out, or you're not able to resolve the issue, go to this question mark over here and then click on report an issue. This will open up this page where you can give a short description about the issue that you're facing, slightly describe what the issue has been so that it's easier for our support team to exactly know what you have been going through. Project description, this automatically gets picked up from the project description that you had already put in your application, but there's no harm to kind of add and give more context about your app. Copy other people who are there in your team who you want to be copied to this issue that you are raising to the support. And if you have any screenshot, definitely put them over here, upload them over here so that it's easier for our support team, and then just submit the report. You don't have to go into your email and write the email or send them there. All of this will take care of your support ticket. Right after you submit this report, you will receive an email saying that your issue has been submitted to our support team and that they will revert back as soon as possible. So yeah, this is the easiest way that you can reach out to our support team with your issue.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. I see we've got another hand raised from Mary and then another one from Colinette. So let's hand it over to Mary.
Yeah, good evening from Kenya.
Good evening. Welcome, Mary.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for this webinar meeting. My name is Mary. I'm from Kenya. I work with the Ryan Tech Solutions Limited. And we want to start by appreciating CommCare for the support that they give. At Ryan Tech, we are developers or provider. We are under provider program in CommCare, and we have a sandbox. We've been able to develop something, but now we had a few questions that we wanted clarification from your end. One, we appreciate that you've been able to lower the costs of standard. However, we are asking ourselves, if I get a client, or if as Ryan Tech, is it possible for us to subscribe in one of the plans and maybe use CommCare as a data pipeline, and then we can be able to manage all our clients under one plan, then we pay it ourselves. Then number two, we wanted to know, once we have subscribed, say we have subscribed for standard? Can we still continue developing using the sandbox and then we host using the standard plan? Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I can definitely answer that. And Mary, I think if we've been on email, that's great to meet you in Zoom life. Uh, yeah, so I'm going to give you a technical answer and then a governance answer. So technically speaking, you could have like a bunch of different projects in one project space. That's always true. Um, you can have many applications in one project space. You can have many data exports in one project space, a bunch of different users in one project space. There are user limits in every project space. So at some point, you will hit those user limits and start paying overage fees. So at some point, it probably won't make sense to just keep adding more users to it. The bigger concern, I think, is that when you have all of that in one project space, there's no good segmentation. So, if any of your clients wanted access to the system, you would only be able to give them access to the full system, meaning they would have full access to everybody else's data. And my assumption is that that would be a governance nightmare and that no one would allow that to happen. Maybe not. Maybe if the clients are like, from the same organization, that is okay. But generally speaking, we use project spaces as kind of separate environments to be kind of the separators of data environments. So generally, we would say if you don't want to see each other's data, like if the projects are not okay sharing data, then they shouldn't be in the same project space. And that's kind of our litmus test for it. That's a really good way to keep things totally separate. Even though obviously you guys as the primary app builders are allowed in all of those spaces. When you do get up to the advanced plan, there's a little bit more nuance to that because you can use our organizations and locations feature to create what we call location restricted users. So you have a little bit more ability to make that data segmentation happen. But the advanced plan is a very different price point than standard. So if you're looking at putting 10 clients on standard, that's going to be the same as an advanced plan. So I think there's a little bit of figuring out what is right for your clients on that. And then in terms of you guys, I know you're providers. You guys always get to maintain your sandbox no matter what. And then your clients maintain what your clients maintain. So if they have standard plans and they keep them and pause them, that's separate from your sandbox. Your sandbox is always yours to use. So you don't have to worry about that going away at any point.
Awesome. All right. Well, I realize we are just at the top of the hour. I am so grateful for everyone's time today. As folks are closing out, there's going to be an exit survey that will allow you to say if you've got additional questions and you want to chat more, if you've had any more questions that come up either during the webinar or as you're kind of mulling it over. We will also be sharing out the recording. And for everyone that doesn't already have access to CommCare, feel free to head over to commcarehq.org where you can sign up for a plan. You can get started with our free edition and then upgrade to whichever plan best suits you, including the $100 standard plan. So thank you, Erin and Artie, and thank you to everyone for joining and for your wonderful questions. We really appreciate it. Have a wonderful rest of your days.